All right, my friends, we are here with three little bears. I'm Stephanie from Stephanie B Creativity, and I want to share with you my way of making sweet little bears on a 22 needle knitting machine. You could absolutely do it on with making tubes on a 24 needle or 24 pin loom. You can even do it on a size 10 circular knitting needles. Just have fun. Make it with whatever tools you've got. I'm excited to share this with you. This is a very beginner-friendly project, and we are going to be doing bears or puppies with two different ways to make their faces. One way is for slightly older kids with safety eyes. The other way is for the younger set or people who don't want to use plastic. We have a beautiful little embroidered face with felt and embroidery floss. Let's get started on this fun project. Patches the bear or patches the pup. You can decide if it's a bear or a puppy. I want to show you how to do this face with felt and embroidery, but then I also want to try doing the muzzle on the knitting machine and using a safety nose and safety eyes. So I need to get moving on making patches. Patches has arms that move, just like my bunny pattern. And the bunny pattern is listed up here if you're interested. This is how I kind of designed this bear or pup to be. Kind of in the same way that I did my spring bunny. And it is a 60-row tube. You need two of those, and two tubes that are 20 rows for the arm. And basically that's it. We will be putting a drawstring across the top, about 5 stitches down for the ears, a drawstring across for the neck area, and then the rest of it, it's just all stitched and stuffed. And it's a toy, and it's fun, and you get all of the variation because of the striping yarn. This is being made with Red Heart Super Saver stripe in the latte stripe colorway. And all of these came off of one skein. I just sort of rolled them off with my ball winder so I could kind of see what colors I had to work with. For filming, I'm using my Sentro 22 that has the updated crank gear. So I'm going to line this up. I'm going to cast on, just the standard back and forth cast on. I'm not using any of the waste yarn. I want to make this as easy as possible. Going to reset my counter here. This little counter uses a magnet. Every time the magnet passes this little sensor right here, it counts a row. And if you notice, I am cranking away, and the sound you hear is the sound of this just running. I can put tension on it. Although I'm noticing that this is just about the right tension, so I'm not even going to touch it. I'm just going to crank. I'll meet you back here when I've done 60 rows. 60 rows, we're going to take it off. I'm just going to use the long tail pickup here, cut my yarn, run it around until I'm back to this one still being attached where the yarn is coming out of. That's my last attached one. All of the rest of them are just sitting here waiting to be picked up. So I'm going to pick up 2 and then work my way around. And then we're back to the beginning. So it doesn't matter if I pick up my yarn and start it in a different spot on a skein. I am going for a little bit of a lighter color down here at the bottom. You can kind of plan where your colors are going to a certain extent. Get all the way around, cast on. put it in the keeper, put it in the tensioner, reset my counter, and away we go. All right, this is the muzzle, and I only did 6 rounds, and that's because I want it to be small enough to fit on his face. It's surprising how small you can make one of these little yo-yos or rosettes. All right, that's how big the muzzle is. Teeny, teeny, tiny. I'm not going to pull it down though until we put it together. Let's get this machine moved out of the way. All right, we're down to let's get this put together. I have my clippy stitch markers, darning needles, this really cute, what I keep on my desk as a pin cushion. This is a pattern, it's listed up there, and it's free. So, if you want a cute little house to keep on your desk or in your sewing basket, it works really well. It's my cozy coastal cottage. All right, so now we're going to get in here and start getting things set up. First up, you want to make sure that you have stretched your knit. You want to pop all those stitches in place, and if you don't, it won't go together as easily. So I'm just giving it a nice little stretch. The ends will get drawn in, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to go ahead and get my mattress stitching done. The first thing I need to do though is I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to count down 5 stitches. I need to have my ears left up here at the top. And we will be doing a little bit of detail stitching on those to kind of pull them in and make them a little more bear-like. If you make them smaller, it will be more bear-like. If you leave them a little bigger like this, it's up to your interpretation. It could be a bear, it could be a pup. Either way, it's really cute. And I'm just going to join them up right here. And the reason why I'm doing that is, one, so that I can, have it lined up here at the top. So what we'll be doing is joining this up with a mattress stitch. So first up, I need to make sure that my stitches are going the same direction. So you see how this is trying to twist? So you don't want your columns to be twisted. You want them to be straight up on top. My V's are going to the right. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my V's continue to go to the right. If you don't, what happens is this twists, and you see how this row right here that I want to stitch on, it's disappeared over the back over here. And you don't want that to happen. You'll end up with a not seamless join. See how this join is very seamless? It looks like it was knitted this way. The mattress stitching is where you take your time. And because this is a small project, I will be doing the mattress stitch for every stitch. Now, when you're going down along here, though, you have to remember that you're going to be stopping somewhere to make sure that he's got, a split for his legs. Okay, so 20 to 21. You noticed I put several clippy stitch markers to hold my edge together. I am putting a slip knot in the end of my yarn and a stitch marker on it, like that. When I stitch this together, if I pull on my yarn, it's not going to pull through because I have something holding it. There we go. This cute little pup or bear, I think, would be absolutely adorable for anybody. It would make a really cute little basket stuffer for a gift. It would, just any occasion, even if it's just to make you smile. So I'm going back and forth. I'm keeping that V right here. So when you go to the V, see that stitch? The stitch is wrapping around underneath of the next stitch, right? What we're doing is we're picking up the loop between, like that. And I just, look at that, whoops, I just skipped one. So I'm going to go back. If you skip one, you will end up puckering. So see, this is the one I wanted right here. And then, you see where the leg is coming out right here? It's in that same section. You're going to come back and pick up that loop right there. I don't know if this is making sense. Please let me know if this makes sense to you, but it's just slow and steady, going down, picking up the bar between. I love the patchwork look of this with this latte stripe yarn. It is so, so fun. Here we go. I would definitely use a little bit longer piece of yarn. I'm going to have to pull on this and tighten it down some so that I get the length of yarn back. But I'm just walking my way down. Just enjoying a slow and methodical process. This is very mindful stitching in that you need to pay attention to what you're doing, but it's not super, super technical. And so you can let your mind wander a little bit. Sometimes you'll come up with a really cool idea for something. I'm going to hold on right here to this end and pull. And look at that. Invisible join. I'm going to continue doing this. Then we're going to put our drawstrings in for the ears and the neck. And the drawstring is only going to be on the inside. I'll meet you back here when I'm ready to put the drawstrings in. Once you have gone through and done all of your mattress stitching down the back, you're going to pull your yarn nice and tight. Then, after you've pulled it tight, you're going to want to stretch it a little bit and allow some of that yarn to go back up inside this line. Otherwise, it's going to be so tight and stiff. So far, we have the back stitched. We have the space for the ears. And now I am going to take this little stitch marker off. I'm going to take this one off, and I'm going to just do the same stitch. I'm going to stitch this down to the inside, and we'll be right back. And I'm not going to worry about cutting these off. These are just going to float inside. That way, if they were to work loose a little bit, there's enough of it here that it's not going to come out. It's not going to break my seam. And that's all I really care about. I am going to put 2 drawstrings in, and it does not matter what color yarn you use because we're only going through the one layer here. We will poke the tails out. They're not going to show on the outside of the bear. 5 stitches down from the top, and we're going to pick up every other leg going across. See, that's what I mean by every other leg. We have the drawstring for the ears. We're going 15 down from the bottom of the ears, 15 rows, and do the same thing. Just pick up every other stitch going all the way across. So now I am going to be stitching these 2 edges together. See how we didn't have to worry about where these drawstrings were because they show up on the outside? We're going to stitch these together all the way down to here. Then we have 2 legs. We'll have 2 ears, the head and the body. I am going to mattress stitch across now from where the legs meet. Just make sure you get lined up with your V's going the same direction. Same drill. I'll meet you back here when I've got this all stitched up the front. And go back to the inside. And I am doing a little through knot, which is, pull it, take the yarn through the loop and tighten it down. A couple of them in a row to stitch on the muzzle. Now right now this does not look like a muzzle, does it? But we're going to make it into basically like a little flat yo-yo. So drawstring end in on one edge, drawstring in on the other, but we're not going to pull it all the way down tight. And I want the muzzle to go on the face right about here, right? I don't want it to stick out too much, the edges. I want them to curl in. But I do want to do it off center. You see what I'm doing here? See where that hole is right here in the middle? I'm actually going to put, look at that. I've got a little black nose. And if we poke that through here and pull the string down tight around it, and then get one of the big washers, we're going to put that on there and really get it on tight. So now we can pull this down nice and snug and get it ready for stitching onto his face. See how cute that's going to be? Then we're going to use some black eyes. Really big eyes. There's his muzzle. There's his eyes. That's why we have not closed the top of this yet, is we need to get his little eyes and stuff on, but I don't want to put them completely in place yet. I do want to make sure that I know where his neck is. Now inside is drawn down. At this point right now, you're going to say, but I can't tell what's going on. We're going to draw this down, tie it, that's just a granny knot tied. All right. We're going to take a little bit of stuffing. This is just Crafter's polyfill. And we're going to start stuffing his head. And then we'll put the eyes back in. Because what it is, we have to find out where the head is and what the shape of it's going to be. And I like to sort of stretch that to the sides a little bit. The cool thing about this construction is that everything is double layered. So you're not going to have any stuffing showing through, even if you put it on really tight. But look at that. Head is coming together. Eyeball. And eyeball. Look at this little guy. He's a puppy. He's a bear. He's absolutely adorable. Now his little muzzle is going to get stitched down tighter to his face. You're not going to have to put any stuffing in here because all of the yarn that's there becomes the stuffing. I'm going to go ahead and come around to the inside. I'm actually going to let a little bit of that stuffing get in like that. There's one. There's two. Remember that these types of eyes are really good for kids over 3 years old and kids that don't put stuff in their mouth and try and chew things off. If you have, you're making this as a toy for your pup, I would really suggest going for the sewn on face, so that way they're not crunching on eyes and noses. I think we're going to leave him like that for the minute. I want to get the rest of his body stuffed before I put his muzzle on. And to do that, we're going to need to get things finished. So starting off here, I am going to find the end of my drawstring on the cast on edge here. And do it to the other side. I'm going to put a little bit of stuffing up inside the ears before I close this up. So I'm not too worried about getting that completely closed up yet. Now close up this other edge. We can look at what we're doing here. We're drawing that down just a little bit. It's pulling it in, shaping his face. Definitely going to put a little bit more stuffing inside the head that I can mush around. Love it, love it, love it. And remember that this is something that you're making with love for someone else. And if it takes a little extra time to do it, that's okay, right? But if you're making a sweet little heirloom toy to give to someone, you know, you've got somebody who absolutely loves the handmade, hand thought out gift, or you're making them to sell, but you're selling heirloom toys. You're selling toys that are, oh my gosh, that's going to be so cute. You're selling toys that people know you're spending a little extra time working on. I'm just going to tighten that down like that. Now I have stuffing up here between these ears. I am going to be working this around. I think first off, I'm going to stitch, and I'm going to mattress stitch off this edge here between these ears, or whatever way works for you. For me, it looks like I can get my points pointing the right direction, so I'm going to mattress stitch. So remember, it's draw that in, go around the cinch area, there we go, nice and tight. Find your edges that are going the same direction, if you can. There. Okay, you see how we're down here to the center between the ears now? I'm going to go back up through towards that, through all the stuffing and towards that cinch down bit, because what I want to do is get that shaped. So I'm just going to do some stitches to kind of shape that down. I'm pulling that cinched bit here. Instead of it being on top of his ear, I'm pulling it down to the inside of the ear. I think that it makes a cuter ear. It flattens it out a little bit and makes it look a little more bear-like or puppy-like. And then I'm going to go across. I'm only stitching through this front layer of yarn though, or front layer of fabric. I'm not going through the back, and I'll flip it over and I'll show you. See, I'm not going through the back here. This is all smooth. I'm not catching any of that yarn. There we go. I'm going to go across, and I am going to come through on the outside right here. And I'm going to come and do kind of a around it stitch there. So when I pull it, I'll be able to pull and have it shaped. And I'm going to do a little bit of a stitch right here, kind of the same thing, where I'm going to go around the stitches a couple times. Now I am using yarn that's very similar in color here. It's the yarn that came out of the drawstring at the top, so I didn't have to go find yarn that matched. But again, I'm just kind of playing with it and trying to make it shape a little bit to what I want. And I think that's probably good. I wanted it more of a rounded ear. You might want it to be more of a little standy up ear, right? Showing you different things you can do. So now I'm going to come back and out back here. I'm going to do the same thing with this ear on this side, and I'll meet you back. We're going to stuff in the body just a bit. See, the arms are going to go here, like that. Give him some good stuffing here. I'm going to take the cast on edge. I'm going to drawstring these edges in like that on both legs. Get all the little loose bits tucked inside. I'm going to stitch part way up, or most of the way up, until we're here at this area between the legs and the junction of the belly. I will stuff down into the legs, then finish that stitching off. I'm going to be folding his arms, mattress stitching this, drawstringing it down like that, mattress stitch up the edge, and we'll be able to put his arms on. Leg stitched, stuffed, and this closed. Then I'm going to mattress stitch these edges. You've seen me mattress stitch several times now, so I'm just going to mattress stitch these edges. I am not putting stuffing inside, but when I get ready to close it up completely, see this top edge, the shoulder? I'm going to tuck the shoulder down inside and fold it to do my, and then do my mattress stitching. That's the only thing I'm doing to his arms, because see what that does is it gives you this lovely shape for his arms. I'll meet you back here when I have all of those bits and pieces. I will show you sewing these arms on and showing the muzzle getting sewn on. All right, it's time to stitch on the arms. I'm using one of the pieces of yarn coming off of finishing this little guy, this arm. I'm lining the arms up with the leg. All right. And I am going to go right through the middle of the arm and go all the way across to the other side. And then I am going to make sure that the hand is tipping forward, so the shoulder is right here. I'm going to put the other arm on, lined up with the side, and then I'm squishing it down on the table so I can get that needle to pull all the way through. And then I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to go all the way through and try, whoops, but I don't want to, see how the needle came out really low right there? I'm going to make sure that the needle is coming out near where I put my stitches in to begin with. If you have a dull needle, you're going to be doing a lot better with that. But see how we've got Got his little arms on now. I'm going to go back and forth a couple times to try and, make sure that his arms stay nice and secure. There we go. And I'm going to stitch through. Another time, all the way across. All right. So I've gone back and forth a couple, 2 or 3 times. I am like not always going in exactly the same spot because, you need to catch a bit of the yarn in different areas, but I don't want it to be too far off from where I was originally. And now I'm going to come out on the inside of his arm right here, tie off, and bury the yarn. There we go. This is so, so cute. And pop that to the inside. And that is already running through the yep, that's already running all the way up through the inside. I can trim that one off. All right, friends, we are to the point where we get to stitch on his cute little face. So if we have this pushed so that the nose is like right up at the very top edge of this muzzle, it's going to make it look more like a little bear. See? But if we have it with a bit of that, a little bit more of a snout, like that, it's going to look a little more like a puppy. I want this to be a bear, so I'm going to slip this so that it is, the nose is way up high. I'm stuffing all of this extra fabric inside that space. I'm going to bring the needle all the way up here so it's coming out the top edge. And I am going to stitch this down. I'm lining up the nose, the center of the nose with the center line of his face. And I'm going to come through 2 here and then step down, and I'm going to pick up 2 stitches here and then come back up and pick up 2 stitches there, like that. And I probably will have to go around twice to get this really firmly attached. I'm hoping that it turns out. So one of the things about this, and it is an experiment also, all of my pieces are experiments, remember, that when you're stitching something down, this is when the personality of the bear or the puppy or whatever you're making comes out. Look at that. I think this is definitely worth the time and effort that it takes to make a cute little bear like this. I really, really like having this muzzle on like that. Patches, you are absolutely adorable. I'm going to run the needle through. I'm not going to put a little mouth. You could take a little bit of yarn or embroidery floss and put a little mouth or something on here. I don't want to. I like him just like this. Hurrah! He says, yay! I'm done! Now we're going to do the bear with the sewn on felt muzzle and embroidered eyes. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm using just craft felt here, and I have a little rectangle here. It's about 2 inches. Wow, pretty close. By 1¼ inches. I'm going to fold it in half. This was just a chunk that I cut off. I did not measure it when I cut it off. You don't have to be perfect on this. I'm going to go ahead and just round off the corners, just like that. And I'm going to give it just a little bit of a divot right here. See? Just like when you're cutting making a heart. I just cut that little V right there. There we go. And I think that that helps in lining up where this little muzzle is going to go. Now, I don't want to have this really straight edge along this bottom. So I'm going to cut a little bit rounded off. Just a little bit rounded off. I am going to take a triangle of black, and I'm slipping it behind. I'm testing. Do I want to slip it in front? Give him a really big nose. Ooh, look at that. Maybe I'll do it that way instead. It's always an experiment. Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. So what I want to do, first up, I will quickly stitch this down onto the muzzle first. So what I have here is just an embroidery needle. There's a little bit of some black pearl cotton on here. It was already on, just some black embroidery cotton. And I'm going to stitch this nose on. So I'm just going to hold this. If you've got a little dab of glue or something like that, you could put that on there. But I'm just going to put a knot, wrap it around my finger, and I'm just going to roll that right off my finger. So now it's all twisted. And pull it down tight with my fingers between. There we go. What type of crafting or art are you involved in? Are you somebody who does a lot of different things? I am. I do so many different kinds of art and craft. And I love sharing what I'm doing with other people. So if you enjoy what I'm doing here, make sure and click that subscribe button. And let me know in the comments, are you somebody who does multi-crafts? Because I have done, so many different crafts. I'm just using a very simple little, like a running stitch. I could do a blanket stitch or I could do a whip stitch, but I'm just doing a little running stitch. I want to make sure that it's attached well, but I don't need to do something fancy. It's a more utilitarian join here. This is going to be stitched all the way around. So I just kind of crossed back over the back right here. And now I'm going to just stitch up through the middle. Are you somebody that's really interested in making critters? Or are you somebody that's more interested in making garments? I want to honor all of my community here with different types of projects. My brown floss here, but this was part of a bulk pack of floss that I bought on Amazon. I'll have links down below if you're interested. I'm going to use 2 strands, tie that little knot, just roll it off my fingers. I'm going to come into the back here. So that my knot's in the back. Line this up. If you've got a straight pin, you could attach it with a pin to get it lined up and held in place. I'm going to slide you over just a smidge. Maybe I'll do it this way. That's keeping it lined up in front. And now I'm just going to stitch this down, and I think I'm going to do just a little, just sort of a little whip stitch, catching through the yarn, through the edge of the felt. Whatever it takes, however it is easy for you to attach. If you pull it down kind of snug, your stitches are going to disappear a little bit. Now I'm just going to do this whip stitch all the way around. I will meet you back here when we get ready to do the eyes. Something I was just thinking about was maybe putting just a tiny touch of stuffing right down here in the front of his muzzle, just to make it poof out just a little bit. And when I say a tiny touch, I mean half that. Just a smidge to poof out the front of his face, just a little bit. See the difference between that and that? That's all it is. That amount right there. There's no stuffing in this one. There's a touch in here. So now I'm going to stitch this close the rest of the way. Put his eyes. Ah, this little guy is coming together so well. I'm taking a length of black embroidery floss. Okay, it looks like I'm going to have 5 strands. I am not going to worry about that. I'm just going to pull that extra one out that didn't get threaded. Put a knot. And I am going to actually work that knot right up inside the muzzle, just like that. This is just a very basic eye. See, just like that little guy. I'm going to make him a little bit wider. I like the look of the little bit wider eyes. This one is really cute. He is adorable, but I want the eyes a little bit wider. So I'm looking at my center line here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and on the 4th column from the center is where I'm going to put the eye. So 1, 2, 3, so the 4th column, the second eye is going to be over here. And this one's going to be right there. And I'm only going 1 stitch up from the nose area right here. So let's just there we go. I'm just doing some whipping over stitches here. You can make this as detailed of an eye as you want. I'm going to try and just get a cute little eyeball on here. Because I'm going over the column like this, it is going to be more of a square eye for right now. I mean, you can do like I said, you could do a much more detailed, much more, not a realistic eye, but a more, doll eye if you wanted to. I'm just basically giving it kind of a satin stitch. So I went across one direction. Now I'm going to go across kind of on a diagonal. It's going to be kind of a padded, sort of a padded eye. And I'm just going to keep going all the way down. Give him that nice sort of button eye without it being plastic, you know. This one is, this doll, this bear or puppy, whichever way you want to call it, is much more like a toy for a very young child. You don't have to worry about, you know, plastic eyes popping off. Just make sure that you secure your stitches. I think I am going to put single stitch of white, or maybe 2 little stitches of white in the eyes. I think this is one of those projects that I kind of don't want it to end. I'm having so much fun doing it. I hope that you do too. I'd love to see your bears or puppies or cats. So easy to change these ears into little cat ears. Put a little pink nose. We already know it works as a bunny. So I'm just going to put a couple stitches of white here. So 3 stitches, take it back through to the ends. I'm going to tie this to have the ends completely attached. I will come back and run this back inside, but I think what I'll do now is just go across. You see where this little white is right here? You need to put that on the same side on this other eye. So since I did it on this side, it's the left-hand side of the bear, but it's the right-hand side of the screen. So the right-hand side here on the screen, I'm going to do the same thing right here and put 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. Take this back through. Same area where that's the first thread was here. So that way I can tie that off. And then I'm going to run those threads right back down inside like this. And then, actually I'm going to bring it out over there. Do the same thing here and run it through. And then trim those little bits off. I hope that you enjoyed this project, that you enjoyed also seeing how I kind of design my little animals. You can make your own, and that's what I want to do. I want to empower you to make your own fun, creative critters. Use what you've got. Use the yarn that you have. Use the tools that are at your hands. If that's a knitting loom or a knitting machine or hand knitting needles, use what you have. It's all about being creative and making stuff. It doesn't matter what the tools are that you're using. I think that every single tool has its place, and every person has a tool they like best. So remember to go out, do something creative, take care of yourself, and be kind. And we'll see you soon. Bye.